Welcome to lesson 4. Yay! Yeah, this is going to be the video about the 4th lesson that I learned from depression. I hope the video doesn't move, because I have my leg here by the chair that moves. Okay, I'm back with another lesson, and I've really noticed that it's amazing to do those videos and just honestly give my voice space. It's very healing for me. And yeah, thank you to everyone who's been listening and watching. And yeah, I'm very grateful for your feedback. Really appreciate that. And it's a little bit funny because I never say what I imagined I would say in the videos, and especially in the last one I talked a lot about ancestry, and I actually thought I would talk about that in another lesson, so it was very interesting too that I went into it. And I thought I would speak more about the actual experience of depression, but because it's such a it involves so many factors that go back much more than when depression starts, so it makes sense that I kind of pull in stories or topics that that only when I talk about them for a while, it makes sense why they would be connected to the depression. Depression is I think it's a very wise response from the body and the psyche and the spirit, honestly, to slow down. And I just talked with a friend on Monday about my experience with it, and she kind of told me that it sounded because I didn't have a lot of contact, and when I was in those years of depression, I didn't have too much contact with my friends, and there was so much changing and happening in me that I felt like I was a whole new person afterwards, even though from the outside it seemed like not much had changed. And she kind of said to her it sounded like this phase, the butterfly, when the caterpillars in the cocoon, and all cells dissolve and the whole body of the caterpillar dissolves and completely transforms into this new body of a butterfly. And she said that to her it sounded like that, and I thought it was a very nice image. And I mean, when you're in a cocoon, there's a lot of darkness. When the caterpillars and there's a lot of darkness, it's very scary, or not scary, but it's just everything changes, and from the outside it looks like not much is happening, it's just this cocoon for a long time, and then only afterwards you see what has changed when the butterfly emerges from it. And it emerges very slowly, it takes a lot of time, and then even when it's out, from what I know, when it's out of the cocoon, and it's slowly unravels or unwraps its wings, they're still very soft, and they it needs to stay there for a while so that they can harden, and only then can the butterfly fly. So it's a very long process, and it takes a lot of time and care and attention and dedication. So I think it's a very nice metaphor for this transformation, and especially in this world, or from what I remember, what I used to be like. I used to want to see results right away. I wanted things to move very quickly, and I wanted to just have results, tangible results, as quick as possible. And when they didn't come, I would feel like a failure, or something was wrong or missing. And I think when we turn to nature, it's another lesson. And it can really teach us that it doesn't always have to be quick, and there doesn't, sometimes the results that come from patience and the slowness and slowing down and really taking it step by step, those results are maybe even more true or more real, yeah. Or at least it feels more real to me to go at this pace. All right, so the next lesson, the fourth lesson, is talks about acceptance as a very important part of healing. And it might sound a little bit, or it might be a little bit abstract, so I hope I can find ways to explain it in a more like tangible way. But first I need to sit differently because I feel like I'm going to, make the camera fall if I keep sitting like this. Okay, so I will read it. It says, lesson number 4, the only way to heal is to accept where I'm at. Yeah. Okay, the one thing, like what I want to talk about with this is that I think I want to come back a little bit to this thing that I also talked about in the beginning, that a lot of people around me were really scared for me and wanted me to get out of this depression as soon as possible, or the state that I was in. They, some call it depression. I didn't call it depression, so it's very not defined for me. But yeah, they saw that I was not well, that I wasn't able to continue as I had before, and they wanted me to get out of it quickly. And so there was really this desire of them to get me out of it, and I mean, sometimes I think I had it too, when it was like really uncomfortable, I think. And there are some things on my journey, like with depression, that I did that when I think back now, I really see, okay, that was me trying to push myself to get somewhere where, like, without accepting where I was at. Okay, so it really connects with a lot of other things as well. I think it also ties in with this realization that I had, that there's not one solution for everyone, that everyone has their own solutions depending on who they are, what they need, what their personality is like, what their story has been so far. Okay, now going back to the start of my depression. I would say it was like in the beginning of 2018. I was studying to become a teacher of English and Catholic theology for high school students, or like 5th grade till 12th grade. And I was in my first semester, and I would say I was open with my parents. Half of that semester I was living at home with my parents, and then the other half I moved out into the city to an apartment where I was living on my own. Pretty much I shared a bathroom with like other people living in other tiny apartments, but I had my own kitchen and paying my own, like it was kind of like its own apartment with this shared bathroom. And in that time I would say quite open with my parents about what I was struggling with, like telling them, okay, I'm feeling very sensitive. I'm feeling like, I don't even know if I told them about this, like feeling of this hole or darkness in my chest, or like this loneliness. I don't not sure, but I for sure know that I was telling them that I was getting super sensitive and my skin was super thin, like metaphorically speaking, and that I was really struggling with all the sensory information that I was receiving when I was like in the city or in university, which was a lot because I was studying at the university, and the university here in Freiburg is in the city, so I had to go there pretty much every day, and like just feeling very overwhelmed by a lot of things. And the more I was sharing with them, the more they got really worried, especially my dad. And they were suggesting, go to therapy, go get help. They were sure that it would help me, and they had like, I don't know, we had like family, friends, or they knew people that had already gone through depression, that had gotten support like from therapists, or that had taken medication to get better, and like they were giving me like those options, saying like do that. And I was, even my friend, like I shared with my friend about it, and she recommended that too. And I don't know, I felt really, really uncomfortable with the idea of going to someone who I didn't know when I was like, and opening up to a person when I was just opening up to the people that I was close with. And their reaction being like that they really, I would say, like kind of panicked a little bit, which made me, which just kind of didn't help me, who was struggling herself. And additionally to that, therapy back then, that's like 6 years ago, no? Maths. 5 years ago, was still super stigmatized, and like you only go there when you're sick, or when you're like a person with real problems, and it's very not cool to go to therapy. And then I also had my own views on life, and like I felt very like this, like I was still like, I think it's very interesting how I speak about it, because it's really not how I thought it would go. I mean, I had just left, like in 2016 I had spent those 9 months in Taizé, in this like very, very protected community with a lot of structure, a lot of space and time to like give space for your inner life, very simple work, a lot of focus on community and sharing and being together and living a peaceful life together, where the focus was on joy, simplicity and mercy. Like those were the 3 big words. And I had spent 9 months there, very, very protected and very very much a part and member of that community. Then I had come back, had wanted to kind of like share everything, or kind of like I felt like I had received so much in that time that I felt like, wow, now there's so much that came up in me that I really want to give to the world, that I want to share. And at the same time I had lost like all of this, like that whole community and all the structure, all the togetherness, all this peaceful life, like coming back. I mean, I don't live in the biggest city ever, but still it's a big city with a lot of new things to care for. And at that community, like, you had very clear responsibilities, which were honestly not so much, and then the rest was taken care of. Like, the food was taken care of, the structure of the day, the information that, I don't know, like in the prayers, like, of course, like, you could have your own interests and do things, but like, just a lot of things were already given that when I came back I kind of had to figure out on my own, like from one day to the other, which I like was really hard for me to get used to again after 9 months, where I had really dedicated myself fully to that experience. So I was kind of grieving without knowing it, because I was kind of only focused on this future. Like, I had learned all those years before that you just keep going, you keep running, you keep pushing, you like keep focusing on your future, what you want. And that was very encouraged by everyone around me, asking me, okay, so what are you going to do now? Like, how are you going to make your own living? And what direction are you going to go? So there was really like this forward movement, like, that was already also encouraged from my environment. And I wanted to share what I had like received there, and I was grieving it. Like, there was so much going on. And so I ended up moving to Leipzig to my younger sister's apartment. Like, she was living in a shared apartment with 2 other girls, and they had recently like one of their flatmates had recently moved out, and there was a spare room, and she said, like, we had a phone call and she was like, yeah, we have a spare room, why don't you come move in with us and you can figure out your next moves from here. And so I went there still like with all those questions, all those things I wanted to bring and share, and felt like we're so big, and like I had experienced so much goodness in that time, and then like kind of adjusting is very, very slowly back to having to take care of so many things on my own, and not living in a community that was like protecting me, or not in that way that I had been, or I was used to from Tizzy. And so I was there in Leipzig. I kind of got a job at a ice cream store after a while. Was trying to push myself to figure something out, but was so overwhelmed by so many things, and in the end ended up just living there, like meeting a lot of people from Tizé that had already left, that I had lived with, like came to visit me, or I visit some of them. But I wasn't really aware of this deep grief that I was going through at that time already. And I felt so much pressure, and at the same time this desire to share something, and at the same time like so lost in that world that I was living in, because that was not at all what I was used to from those 9 months before. Wow. Asking myself so many questions, like what am I doing here, and and I like wanted to bring all this goodness that I had received from like that time to the world. And at the same time I realized whenever I wanted to, it didn't really work out, because there was so much other stuff that was like bombarding me, wanting my attention, that really overwhelmed me, that I just couldn't like do it. And I felt so like I had let myself down and other people, and at the same time felt so overwhelmed, and at the same time still was living some really, really nice, creative, cool moments that I really enjoyed. So there was a lot of everything. Yeah, and at the same time feeling a lot of shame that I couldn't move on like everyone else, and that I couldn't just do something like everyone around me was like studying or wanting to study or doing some other kind of job or education, and kind of like, or it felt like to me that they were kind of figuring life out in a way that was very conform or like accepted or acceptable, and I kind of wasn't. I was kind of like just living, but in a very weird way, and getting a lot of pressure, and at the same time not really moving but wanting to move, and having nice moments with people, but they felt like, okay, but where are they getting me to because it didn't seem like they were as like I felt like the life that I was living, or in the society that I was living, or in the environment, that only real things were like seen as valuable. I don't know. Anyway, and after a lot of phone calls where I was crying with my mom, and a lot of discussions with both my parents, like they were really worried for me in that time. I decided to move back home to do this to study English. I love language and communication. I especially like English, and to also study Catholic theology, because after that time in a Christian monastery, I thought, yeah, why not? That makes sense. I feel the desire to have a more meaningful existence. Or to me it felt very meaningful, and I thought, wow, it would be so cool to teach religion in school. Like I could ask the students questions and help them develop their own values and ideas or views on religion and the meaning of life and those big questions. And I thought, okay, I will be teaching because I want to do teaching because like my big passion after I finished high school, I think I said that before, was to transform the education system, which was like I talked about it so much with so many people, and went to conferences and really developed a lot of ideas, and I read so many books, and that was really my big passion topic. And I thought, okay, if I have to study, might as well study to become a teacher, to make a difference in that way. And so it was kind of like a way of reconnecting with where I had started before TISI, or before I spent those 9 months in TISI. And at the same time including something, because I mean religion was one of the subjects. And yeah, and then I really didn't think I would like talk about my life this much here now, but and then I started to study and realized very quickly that it was a huge amount of work, and that I really had to adjust to like a completely new system, completely new way of being together. Like it took me really a lot of energy to figure out like how do I connect in a way with the people there that's not like, it was just a lot of new things to kind of understand and get used to, and new rhythms and new responsibilities. And especially studying to be a teacher is like you study 2 whole subjects, like as if you'd be studying 2 different bachelor degrees, like this like theology and English, and then in addition to that you have educational sciences. So it's like a huge study, like compared to other studies where you study like one main subject and one like major and minor. Like that's how it usually works at that university. And this was like 2 majors and then this educational sciences, which I hadn't known before. I just thought, okay, it sounds cool, I'll do it. I mean, I thought about it a little bit more, but like coming from a family where like, yeah, almost everyone in my family from or friends, they all studied. I had like picked the subject that I thought, okay, that make the most meant sense to me. Just music. And so it was my try to get back into this world that I had kind of to kind of fit in again after that really deep experience in Tizzy. And really quickly I realized, okay, this is not working out. It's way too much. I feel super overwhelmed and really unhappy. And also there's all this grief. There's this like really deep, dark pain in my chest coming up, and it's just too much. Everything's too much. And I was missing Tizzy so much, oh my gosh. And so at first I thought, okay, maybe it helps if I get some space from my parents. Because I was really not, I was feeling very overwhelmed with the situation at home, like, there were some things happening at home, and there were also like other people living at our house, and I felt like, okay, maybe if I have my own space, like my own safe space, I will feel better. And so I kind of convinced my parents to support me financially with me moving out into the city, where I had this little room, and I think I moved in like February of 2018, and there I was alone, really committing to holding myself and kind of figuring out how to manage my life with all those things that were in me and around me and my responsibilities. Like I was still studying and trying to do my best to study, at the same time try to nurture this inner stuff, and like figuring out how to manage this constant overwhelm that I was like faced with. Also living in the city was so not helpful. I don't know why I did that. It was like kind of close to a little mountain that's very close, like in the city center kind of, so that helped a little bit. But like the city center, there's always so much going on, so many people, and were also the times where I felt like I dissociated. Like I was walking through the city, but I felt like I was above my body and I wasn't in my body, because it was just way too much for me. And I had some panic attacks at university, which I think correlated with like the coffee that I was drinking that was not very helpful. But I mean, I didn't know, like I had drank coffee like all those years before, and it was fine, but now my body was reacting differently, and I was super sensitive to everything, like sugar, coffee, like my body really reacted even more strongly, and it was just getting way too much. And then I think we had to do an internship for the studies at a school, like right in the beginning, like I think it was in the semester break in March, something like that, like for a few weeks. And I had found a really cool school that was in the Black Forest, so it was more like in a more remote area that was not the city, and I was super happy. It was like a boarding school, and when I visited the principal, I think even, no, not the principal, but someone showed me around and told me everything about it, and I was really excited to do an internship there. But when the days leading up to the internship, I realized, okay, I cannot do this. I cannot take the train every morning to go up there and spend all day. That I'm physically, emotionally, mentally, I'm just so overloaded and drained and overstimulated. My nervous system is like activated all the time, and I just couldn't do it, and so I just canceled that. And I realized, okay, I have to do something. Something has to change, because I cannot stay here. Even though I had my own place, I was constantly feeling like being overwhelmed, being in the city, and just not feeling safe or good at all. And of course, I was so homesick for Taizé, for the place where I had where I had experienced feeling safe and feeling so alive and so good and so peaceful and so happy. And of course I was missing that in the time where I was so completely the opposite, feeling the opposite. And so I was yearning for this feeling. I just wanted to, all I dreamed about was being back in Taizé, being back in that church where I felt so safe and guarded and just so much love. I just wanted to be there. All I imagined was being back there. And so I actually, when was it? I think it was in June. Yeah. Or May. Wow, I studied for a long time. I thought it was way less. I ended up canceling or exmatriculation. I don't know if that's a word. I exited the university. I stopped my studies. I moved out of my apartment back home very quickly. I just felt like I just have to do it. I moved back home, and then a few days later I just went to Taizé on a bus. It's 4 hours from here, in France. And yeah, just to be I was in complete survival mode. I was I just have to be there, and I didn't want to listen to anyone saying you need to go to therapy, anything. I just wanted to feel what I felt there again. I just wanted to feel safe, because I was so overstimulated all the time and so unhappy. And so that was me trying to find my way with this. And so I went there, and when I arrived, asked for a week in silence. I think I did a week in silence first. And I didn't really have any plan of how long I would stay there, but I really wanted to stay longer than 1 week. Usually you stay for 1 week. And in that week in silence, I slept a lot. I rested. I went for walks. I cried a lot. And I tried to find this sense of peace again, but it was really difficult because it was summer, there were a lot of people, and I didn't have the sense of that I had been looking for anymore in that church. And of course it all, of course it also had to do with the whole life that I had back there that I couldn't just recreate. But I think I was feeling a little bit better, or at least happy that I had done something to get better. But I was really not okay and so tired. I slept so much. And I did art. Even before that, in that year, I did a lot of art, which made me feel a lot better. And then after that week, I asked to become a volunteer again. And when you're in Taizé and you're a girl, you stay for longer, you have a contact sister, and I had one that I already had in 2016 when I was there for a longer time. And yeah, that was like kind of my contact person, and I asked her if I could stay longer, and she was like, are you sure if that's a good idea? And I said, yeah, I just want to try, and I really need this. And then she ended up agreeing, and I moved into the volunteer's house and got like the I should have asked for other jobs, but I got like you get jobs in the beginning or at the end of the week for the next week, and my job was like something super noisy, like small washing up, which is like where there are all the people and it's right after the meal and it's so loud, and it's just very noisy. I think I got that, and then 0.5, I think, like cleaning toilets, like being the leader of a group that cleans the toilets. And it was all out in the sun, like in the crowd of many people, and just really not helpful for the state that I was in. And I did it anyway because I really didn't have the energy to ask for something else. I was just glad to be there, and I felt really like I just need to be able to kind of handle this to be able to stay. And so I did it, and honestly, every moment, oh, there's a bee. Every moment that I had free time, I would just go into my room and sleep. And luckily I had 2 super sweet roommates, one from India, one from the Philippines. And I really opened up to them and shared with them what I was struggling with, and they really were so kind and sweet to me and gave me a lot of encouragement and understanding, and I will always be thankful for them. And okay, and I think I don't know if I stayed like for 2 weeks or 3 weeks as a volunteer. I think for 3 weeks. And every week just got worse. And in the 3rd week, or the last days, like on Sunday, usually on Sunday there's a mass. On every Sunday there's a mass. And after that I would have had to like take responsibility for a job that I had done. Like it's kind of a bigger job that I had done when I was there in 2016. And I completely forgot about it and just sat in the church and then talked to some people that were working in the church, and this just was completely not, like I didn't have the mental capacity to focus on anything other than doing whatever I could do in that moment or that felt right, and not what my responsibilities were. And I don't know if that was one thing. And then after that I had another job at the welcome, because on Sunday usually the people arrive, or new people arrive, and so it's like a big transition day where there's there are a lot of jobs for just that day. And I was responsible to drive some people to the family what's the word? Family accommodations. And while I was sitting there waiting for someone to tell me where to drive, I was just sitting, like it was like kind of in the middle of everything happening. There were people like walking by, getting, I don't know, their meal tickets, paying for stuff, and like with their backpacks, like a lot of new people arriving. There was so much happening, and it was super sunny. I was sitting there and just like crying. I don't know if I was crying, but at the brink of crying, and feeling like so much overwhelmed, like more than usual, and just so exhausted, so overwhelmed, and like I could feel that panic was coming up, like this anxiety, or I think it was there all the time anyway, especially when I was sitting there, like so much anxiety, and just the sunlight was so bright, and I think I was wearing sunglasses, but I just knew, okay, I'm falling apart, like I can't handle anything anymore. And then one girl came that I was volunteering with, and I think she realized, okay, Heidi's really not okay, like she really needs help right now. And she encouraged me to call my contact sister. I called her and asked if we could meet, and that I was not okay. And I think I ended up even driving some people there anyway, because they needed, that was my job. And I managed somehow, I don't know how. And then I met my contact sister and just, I think I was crying, telling her that, like, I can't do it. And she had already known that I was getting there, but she had been patient with me, like waiting for me to realize it. And so we went to call my parents. And we also talked about me maybe going to a clinic or something, like some place where I could get the help that I needed, which at that moment I was like, okay, I don't care, I'll do anything. I just don't want to feel this overwhelmed anymore. And I think that was the last day I was there. I think it was 3 weeks after being a volunteer for 3 weeks. And then the next day my dad came, which was very nice of him. And he picked me up, we had breakfast, and then we left. And I mean, it was kind of sad that I had to say goodbye also to my roommates and just everyone who I had met in that time, but it was really time for me. And what else did I want to say about this? Anyway, okay, so I had learned I cannot recreate what I experienced in 2016. It kind of helped me a little bit to be there, but now I was not capable to live the way that was expected of me to live there. And so I had to leave. And so I got home, and of course my parents were really worried about me, and they were like, okay, what's going to happen now? I said, I want to go to a clinic. And I think in the next days my mom and I went to like a that's not what it's called. It's like a place where you can go. It's like a clinic here in the city, but you can just go there and say, hi, I just want to talk to a therapist. I need acute, like I need help right now. And I went there and talked to a woman, a therapist, and told her my situation, my past, what I was struggling with, which was really hard for me to open up to someone who I really just knew from like 2 minutes. And she like wrote down some things and said, okay, let's meet again, I don't know, next week on Tuesday, and then I'll have an answer for you, and then I can tell you what I would suggest for you to do. And I came back the next week, and she sat down with me and said, I talked with my colleagues and kind of discussed what it could be, and we think you have depression, and also you have something, I don't remember the word, but like a diagnosis where you have a hard time letting go of your past or like becoming an adult, that you're like not able to let go of this child person and like become an adult, something like that. She was like, that's what you have. Here are some flyers of clinics that I would suggest you go to. And that was pretty much it. I was like, okay, thank you. And I left, and I was kind of, not so happy about it, because I felt very stigmatized by her. I felt very much like, it was super uncomfortable. I really didn't like it, and I went home with those flyers, and I was like, there's no way I'm gonna go to a clinic. There's no way I'm leaving my home right now. Like, I cannot be anywhere else other than just at home, where I know where everything is. I know the people. I just wanna rest. I don't want to do any therapy. I just want to rest. I think I said that in another video. Like, I was so tired and so just I felt like I had no skin left, and I was so like it was really, it felt like it was moving like this in my chest all the time, and then there was this deep darkness that was sucking all my energy, or like using up all my energy, and just there was no capacity for anything remotely as going to a clinic or going to an office of a therapist, having a meeting with them, figuring out if I liked them, coming back the next week, trying again. Like I had zero capacity for all of that. And even though honestly no one around me really understood it, I just did exactly that. I just stayed at home, ate food when I was hungry, talked with my family, tried to have some kind of normality in my life, and rested, just to get my system down to normal again after having been so overstimulated for so long. And I think that was actually very smart, because I learned much later that especially for women, our nervous system, the regulation of our nervous system is like a huge factor in our health, or plays a huge factor in our health and in our hormones and in our well-being. It's for everyone, but especially for women. And yeah, so I really did something good there, calming, or doing my best to at least calm my nervous system a little bit by being in an environment where I felt somewhat comfortable. And so it was really a journey, and it wasn't about finding a quick fix or like getting out of it. Like there's no, honestly, with those emotional things, there's no quick answer. Even if you decide to take medication, like figuring out which medication works for you, trying it out for a few weeks until it starts to like work in your body, and then like having the side effects in the beginning, and then maybe even later, and then trying something new. Like it's such a long process. It's never a quick fix, or at least that's what I experienced and what I know from friends. And therapy takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of energy to face your stuff and to open up to someone. Like it takes a lot of courage and to allow yourself to go this deep and find the patterns that brought you to where you were, and to understand them, and maybe slowly learn how to repattern them, and unravel a lot, and go through all the grief that you hadn't let yourself feel from all those years. Like there's so much, and it's a huge task and journey that there just isn't a quick fix. And that's why it makes so much more sense, instead of trying to kind of like want to get out of it as soon as possible, to accept, okay, I'm really, wherever you're at, like, okay, right now I feel like I need to cry or right now I'm really struggling to focus, or right now I'm feeling so heavy, or I'm feeling so tense, or just to recognize it, name it if possible, and then maybe, like, if something comes to your mind what you could do to maybe make it a little bit better, that's great. Then do that. And when nothing comes to your mind, sometimes the only fact that you're recognizing that something is there, or that you're struggling, or like whatever is there, that alone helps so much, because it's like you become aware of it, and you're not anymore like walking through your day without knowing what's actually going on with you. It's like a huge process of getting to know yourself again and again, and falling back onto, okay, where am I at now? And this is when like the healing happens. And to me, healing really, it's a process. It goes slowly. It needs to go slowly so that you can integrate and kind of rearrange things, rearrange relationships, rearrange your environment. Like it's a big journey of like turning into someone who's able to recognize and hold themselves and know what they need, from others, what kind of lifestyle you need, what kind of things you need in your day-to-day life, or yeah. And I think what really what takes away, or what can really be a like what can be difficult, like sorry, I'm trying to find a way to say that a reason that you could have a hard time accepting where you're at is that you might be conditioned from your environment, from when you were younger, like that, but you have to be, I don't know, always be okay, but I have to always seem like I'm fine, or that I have my stuff figured out, or that I'm always happy, or those are the things that I come to mind from my experience, or I always have to have a plan, or I always have to have a goal, or like those things that we learned are normal or necessary to be a valid human being, like to be accepted as we are, or loved as we are. Those can really come in the way of accepting where you're actually at the moment, and sometimes you don't have everything together, honestly, most of the time, in my case at least, and or you're not always happy, or you're not always, like, you don't have a plan, or you don't have a goal, and you just go step by step and try to do your best. That's honestly the best thing I did for myself, to just take it step by step, and to learn to really celebrate all those little wins that I would never recognize before, because I was so focused on the big things and the big achievements and goals, instead of like turning to my actual experience and my actual life and realizing, wow, like today I managed to do something that I really wanted to do that I didn't manage yesterday, and now I did it. And it's a very vague example, like it's not really an example, but like those small little wins that really gave me a sense of achievement, a sense of growth every single day, that I realized, wow, like when I really look at my experience and not the things I have learned that are only valuable, like when I really look at what's happening and actually happening in me and in my daily life, like I can be so proud of myself and so happy with how I'm growing and how I'm healing, and grateful for everything that I actually have. And yeah, I feel like I went on a different path than I originally had planned to go on here, but yeah, I just want to say that sometimes those things that we learned are valid. They can really make it difficult for us to accept where we're actually at, because we might feel ashamed or scared, or yeah, like it's not okay to be where we're at. Sorry. And yeah, so I really want to encourage you, if you can, to really be open to what is actually your experience of a certain moment, and not try to change it. Like if you feel uncomfortable with certain people, or if you feel ashamed about something, like all those things are so valid. Or if you feel scared in a certain situation, or if you get really angry at something that you think, oh, but I shouldn't get angry, like it's not okay, like accepting those things really, like I said in the last video, they give you so much information, and this is what heals you, because with every moment of you accepting where you are is like a validation of, okay, it's okay to be here as you are, and you're like, yeah, you're getting to know yourself beyond what you kind of learned. Oh, this is such a big topic. Like, we learn who we are by interacting with our caregivers, and being reflected back. Like, that's, I don't know if I can cover this because now it's like almost an hour. But like, our sense of who we are really is based a lot on our childhood and what the people that were like our caregivers, what they reflect back to us. And if they're not able to reflect back to us certain, like, some things that make us or that we express, then that's something that's like kept in the dark, and that we learn to kind of become unconscious of. And by like turning our now that we're adults, and like we turn back our eye on to what is actually there, we're like kind of giving that child that was experiencing all of things and still is experiencing certain things, giving that the attention that it might have needed back then, and kind of healing that part that wasn't seen before. And I'm sure there are a lot of things that you already know about yourself that you've already learned to kind of build your life around. It's really interesting to figure out something new of yourself, and to really validate that and say, wow, I didn't even know that I could feel like that, or that I never thought I would react so strongly to something like that. Okay, this was a little bit more abstract. I hope it kind of helped to get a sense of what I was wanting to say with this lesson. Yeah, and the healing really happens when, or in my experience, my healing happened when I felt seen and appreciated and welcomed as I was, and then the healing would happen naturally, and the answers and the solutions would come. So that's what I really want to encourage with this lesson and what I learned. And I think it really slows down life, and it really helps to find a lot of compassion for yourself, and then also for others. And just helps to figure out who I am and what I need, what I like, what I prefer, what my boundaries are. So yeah, thank you so much for listening. I feel like I could continue to talk, but I think it's a little bit too long, and there's still so much time to talk about everything in all the other lessons. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope it brought you something that you might have needed. Sometimes when I watch a video, I'm like, oh, that was exactly what I needed. I really hope that somehow this video can be like that for you as well. And yeah, thank you for being here with me and being on this journey as well. And just know you're exactly where you need to be, and you're doing amazing. Keep going, and let's continue to heal by accepting where we are at now. Bye.